Hey guys, subscribe for daily content, and if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I'm going to be ranking knife steels from F to S based on my own personal experience and opinion. Now, before we get into the video, I want to make this very clear so you guys know exactly what you're getting into here. I am not a knife maker. I'm not a metallurgist. I'm not even somebody who uses their knives enough to be able to definitively say what is good or what is bad. I am just a person who likes knives and uses them for simple stuff. A lot of these compositions I have an enormous amount of experience with, both using and sharpening, and some of these compositions I have minimal experience with. I'm going to try and tell you guys what level of experience I have with it so that you can judge my rank, right? But this is just opinion, all right? With steel composition, it is a multi-directional teeter-totter between, of course, assuming the heat treat is done right, potential edge retention, your corrosion resistance, your toughness, ease of sharpening, right? Hardness, all of that stuff. And different people prefer different things depending on what they are going to use their knives for. So, edge retention is not the end-all be-all. That is not how we judge steels. It's certainly not how I judge steels, right? There's a lot more to consider there. But yeah, I have my own preferences, and there are an infinite number of variables, so this is just my opinion. If you want some really specific and really detailed information on steel, check out Laren Thomas of Knife Steel Nerds. And also check out Pete from Cedric and Ada. He does just an incredible job breaking this type of stuff down. So this is going to be a crude sort of caveman breakdown of this. I don't have experience with every steel in the world. Some of the examples I'm going to be using are physical knives, like this Hinder XM18 representing S45 Vn. And some of the steels are actually written out on little cards because I don't own every steel, in the world in the form of a knife. It's just, that's an unrealistic expectation. So this is going to be a long video. Kick back and relax, grab something to eat, grab something to drink. Let's get into it. Thanks so much to my generous patrons for supporting me. There's a link below. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's start off. Oh, how do the ranks work? S is the ultimate. That is a mega preferable all the way around. Just absolutely love it. The S class, right? A, really like it. There's a couple of things that I might not enjoy so much. Maybe it has to do with sharpening, or maybe it's a little bit chippy, or this or that, whatever, right? A, really like it. Very good. B, very, it's pretty good. I like it. I would not hesitate to grab a knife made of that steel and use it for almost anything, right? C, not my favorite. It might be really good in a specific circumstance, but there's just too many things about it that make it not great for all the way around, right? Considering me, right? I'm not talking about you guys or everybody. I'm talking about me, what I use my knives for. Might be something more specific, and it's not my favorite for everything. D, nah, I'm not really into it. Like if I was, if I had to, I'd be like, okay, I mean, it's better than nothing, but a D is, nah, I'm going to reach for something else first. F is hot garbage. No one should have a knife made out of something that goes in the F category. Your knife might as well be made out of mashed potatoes. It's terrible. Okay, let's start off here with S45 Vn. Wow, this is definitely one of my favorite steels ever. We're going to start off here with an S class. S45 Vn is very easy to sharpen. It's stainless. It has excellent edge retention. Not the best in the whole world, right? And it's very tough. This particular XM18 has been, people don't actually carry XM18s because they're so expensive. This is my user. The edge has absolutely been beaten up. This is an awesome knife, a super expensive knife, but S35 Vn, right, when properly heat treated, which I've heard is not very hard to do. Oh my goodness, it's such a good steel. Absolutely, we'll clear these out as we, I'm going to run out of room, obviously, so we'll clear them out. But S35 Vn, absolutely. Let's move on here. How about we do S90V? Oh, S90V has like mega good edge retention, right? So that has to go up high. I don't actually care that much about edge retention, massive edge retention. I want to know at the end of the day, okay, great, but when it does finally go dull, how easy is it going to be to sharpen? S90V really sucks to sharpen because once it's dull, right, touching it up, you're probably okay, but if it actually goes dull, it's likely also got chips in it. S90V is super duper chippy, and I hate sharpening it. I legitimately hate sharpening S90V. If all I'm gonna do is cut light material, right? Paper, maybe some cardboard, it's just the only thing I'm ever gonna do, then okay, right? But I do more than that with my knives. You know, even cutting cardboard will chip an S90V blade. That's gonna be a C for me. Oh my God, now you know how this is gonna go. Okay, this is how it's gonna work. How about S30V, represented here by the Spyderco PM2? It's pretty good. It's definitely harder to sharpen than S45 Vn. It does hold an edge a little bit longer. I mean, the Spyderco stuff tends to be heat treated pretty well. I don't have a mega huge amount of experience with any of this, like I said, but S30V, I definitely like it more than S90V. I mean, I'm using my knives. I have a lot of knives, but I use them enough. The PM2 actually, I think, is probably, it's okay. It could be touched up, but this knife gets used a lot down here. I'm gonna give that a B. I like it more than S90V, not nearly as much as S35 Vn. Let's bump up here. Let's do Lmax. Yeah, Lmax is a great steel. I don't like it's. I find it to be pretty similar to S35 Vn, but I still prefer S35 Vn over it. Ease of sharpening is a big deal to me, right? The first thing I want to know is how easy is it to sharpen? I'm not a master sharpener. I use a guided KME. You should learn how to sharpen your knives by hand. Nah, I'll stay with the KME, but thanks. But yeah, like I use the KME because it's quick and efficient for me. I want to get that done. It's not therapeutic to me to sharpen blades. I found out that that's a process I want done quickly, right? And I want it to not be, this is the Guardian Tactical Recon 40, by the way, OTF. Lmax, yeah, I found that it's a little harder to sharpen. Actually, that's a reasonable amount harder to sharpen than S35 Vn, but it shares a lot of the traits. It seems to have edge retention that's really similar. I know that it's supposed to be higher, but it seems to be similar. Then again, I have limited experience, right? So I don't know. I'm hesitant to put it in A. I think I'm gonna put it in B. Lmax it's pretty good. I like it. Let's talk about. Yeah, let's go ahead and talk about 154 cm, and I'm also going to throw in CPM 154. But that's not the same steel at all. 1 CPM, 1 Z get formed. In the case of 154 cm, that does not rely heavily on carbides, right? Carbide formation. The CPM process does not affect it nearly as much as a steel like, let's say, D2. The difference between ingot-formed D2 and CPM D2 is night and day. But in the case of 154 cm and CPM 154, it's very, very similar. Maybe a slight increase in toughness for CPM 154 and a nearly just not detectable difference in edge retention. 154 cm and CPM 154 are, in my opinion, two of the greatest steels that have ever existed, and they are stupidly underrated. I love 154 cm. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite user steels of all time, and it takes a stupidly sharp edge. This is the ProTech Godfather with a Sapphire DLC. This particular knife has not seen any use, but I have used a ton of 154 and sharpened a ton of 154. I absolutely love it. What should we do next? Let's talk about M4. This is the Blade HQ exclusive version of the Spyderco Smock and CPM M4. So I love M4 steel. It's very similar in edge retention to M390. But it's substantially tougher, which makes sharpening much easier, right? The amount of time it takes, let's say you got a clean, dull edge of M390 and M4. The amount of time it takes to sharpen them both is roughly the same, but the M390 is always more chippy. M4 is stupid tough for, the other attributes that it has. I've actually had a pretty okay time sharpening M4, but I love using it. It just seems to really shrug off a lot of, I'm not going to say abuse, like I don't pound cinder blocks in half with a blade, but M4, man, I will never shy away from M4. Still not nearly as easy to sharpen as S35 Vn, so it's going to go in A. Like, for me, M4 is a solid. I know people are going to be like, but how could you? It has to be. It's my favorite, so it has to go in the S. shut up. I'm going to put them where I want to, just like anybody else doing this video would put them where they want to put them. It's just a personal experience thing. There is no one person on this earth who can tell you which steels are actually universally better than, they can't, there's too many variables, right? There's every steel, there's no such thing as steels that are, especially once you get into the CPM, like the performance steels, they are all better or worse given an infinite number of variables in an infinite number of environments. Some of them are created specifically for pocket knives, and some of them had some other initial application or intention, right? So just, you know, just chill out. Speaking of M390, oh, the best steel! M390 is the best steel, automatic, king of steels, right? No, I actually, M390 is okay. It's, you know, like I said, it's not as easy to sharpen as M4, but it'll hold an edge about the same. But here's the thing, M390 is stainless, right? Wow, so stainless. Okay, here in Kansas, I don't really have much of a problem with corrosion, right? If you live in an area where corrosion is much more of a problem, then you may prefer, you know, listen, I'll deal with the chips and sharpening just to keep it from corroding. I can't do M4. It has to be coated, and even then, right, it's still a problem, right? People who live on the coast of Florida, you may not, M4 is not really going to work. In fact, M390 might not even work for you. You might have to use something like H1 or better yet, LC200N, right? M390 is, you know, yeah, it gives you that feeling, that sort of synthetic feeling. Ooh, premium. Oh, it's premium. Why is it premium? I don't know, because people say, because I see it on expensive stuff. But we also, remember, we also see M390 periodically on knives that cost less than $100. Keep that in your mind, guys. Sometimes the cost of these steels is really not that much different than you think. And on the CP, obviously there's a huge difference between the 8CR13 MOV and M390 if you're trying to purchase it to turn it into a knife, right? But M390 does not make it automatically better. M390 is probably a B grade. I'm going to give it a B for me when it comes to actual use. Let's do Cts Xhp. By the way, what was this? This was the Shirogorov Quantum, right? So yeah. The Les George VECP V3 thumb stud opener, non-flipper version in Cts Xhp Steel. So Cts Xhp, what is that? That's Carpenter, US made powder form steel. This is essentially powder formed D2, except it's stainless. So D2 is a pretty decent steel, right? But imagine the benefits of powder forming it. You get that nice, evenly distributed carbide formation, and then make it stainless. Yeah, Cts Xhp is awesome. It's okay sharpening. I kind of put it about here. It's an A-ranked steel. I like Cts Xhp, but again, you know, I don't want to give anybody the impression that I'm like all day, every day using knives and going, oh, I see, I've written down. I don't like write down the number of cuts. I don't do that type of stuff. So this is very non-scientific, and it's just kind of, you know, in the moment, I'm just ranking these things as I go along. If you want that type of, I want to know the exact number of cuts so I can really compare it. Check out Cedric and Ada. Pete does a great job of that. It's awesome. CPM 3V. This is an XM18 3.5 inch Monkey Edge Frag Edition in CPM 3V. This stuff is super tough. It does not, it's not amazing in terms of edge retention, but it's okay. But my goodness, it really is tough. CPM 3, now there are tougher steels out there. This is a CPM or a powder formed steel, and it is far from stainless. I've never had a problem with corrosion resistance on this guy, but again, if you live in an area where corrosion is a problem, 3V is not going to be your friend. This is a mega pounder steel, and it makes way more sense on a fixed blade, but the abuse that I have put my few 3V folders through, not this guy. This guy's not one of them. It really does shrug it off super well. It makes me think a lot of, it reminds me of 1095. But I think 1095 is actually tougher. I don't really know. But the edge retention's okay. It's pretty darn easy. I don't really have a problem with sharpening 3V. But I don't have a ton of experience sharpening 3V. So there could be variations, like maybe the one I was using didn't have an amazing heat treat. It was really soft or something. I don't know, right? A bad heat treat can absolutely throw your sense of how easy something is to sharpen or how good the edge retention is, right? It can throw it off. On top of that, you have to consider geometry. This is what I'm talking about when we talk about an infinite number of elements that can affect something like this, right? There's no perfect way to do this. I'm going to put... I'm going to put 3V also in the B rank category. We're going to move that out. We're just going to move these up and kind of do this. I think that's probably the way to do that. So the PM2 can now be retired. What do we got next here? Let's talk about Damasteel. Oh, yeah, this is not the same thing as Damascus. It is not the same thing. Those of you who are holding your $15 knives you bought from Amazon that are made out of Damascus, that is not the same thing as this. This is powder formed and made by the Damasteel company. It is proprietary and designed to be performance oriented. But it's pretty. How could it be performance oriented? Sometimes things can be both. Damasteel is one of those things. PMC 27 and RWL 34, which RWL 34 is a great steel in and of itself. The end result here is a steel that looks beautiful and performs almost exactly the same as 154CM or CPM. It's exactly the same as CPM 154, which is one of, if not my very favorite steels of all time. So yeah, this is incredible. Damasteel is actually, it feels exactly the same. It really does feel exactly the same in terms of use and sharpening. Now, obviously, I have used and sharpened way less Damasteel than CPM 154 or 154CM, but in my limited experience, it really does feel the same. Damasteel is a freaking S-class steel. Oh my gosh, I love it. Absolutely. Maximets. Oh, that's mega, right? This is my Para 3 that gets a lot of use. I love Maximet. This is unbelievable in terms of edge retention. And so I need to clean this off, but here's my experience, truthfully, with Maximet. Obviously, my Maximet blade is starting to patina. Even here in Kansas, where I don't have a lot of issues when it comes to corrosion. I don't really care too much about the patina. In fact, I kind of like how it looks on this Para 3. It kind of gives it character in contrast with these RGT micarta scales, which are absolutely aftermarket. This is one of my most used knives of all time, and this was a gift from my wife for one of our anniversaries. Yeah, Maximet stays sharp for a stupid amount of time. Now, I was wary about this in the beginning because I was like, that's great, ridiculous, like God tier edge retention, but eventually I'm going to have to sharpen it. Here's the truth, guys. I've never actually had to put this on the KME. I have only ever touched it up on this leather. Well, actually, this is like the 4th or 5th one I've gone through. The compound is totally worn off in this. But it's always just fine afterwards. Right now, I want to see where we're at right now with this knife, if it will slice or what kind of, if it needs some time. It's okay, right? That's where we're kind of goofing up somewhere in the blade. It's not wanting to absolutely slice, right? We're kind of tearing a little bit, but oh my God, for never actually having to go to the KME, not bad. So I'll clean this blade off and probably just touch it up on the strop and it'll be okay. It's pretty tough for being such an incredible, right, in terms of edge. If you're wondering, like people always wonder, well, how is it compared to M390? Because that's just where people's brains jump, right? Maximet has way higher potential edge retention than M390. What do these get up to for Rockwell? 68, 69, something like that? Yeah, they're going to hold an edge way longer, but they're still tougher. It's still tougher than M390. Where M390 is better is in terms of corrosion resistance, right? This guy has, yeah, it's literally does not have any chips yet. It's got a couple of little rolls and things you can see right there. Not bad. Maximet is awesome. Now, once I do actually, eventually it's going to truly need a sharpening, and I know it's not going to be as easy as these guys up here. So, I love Maximet. It's going right there with M4 and CTS Xhp. How about ZDP 189? That's not fair. You're using a Rockstead. So, we're ignore the fact that this is a Rockstead and we're going to judge mortal level ZDP 189. Why do I say that? Because the ZDP 189 on Rockstead knives is in a totally different universe. These things are mirror polished, they're hardened to 68 Rockwell, and then they are it's a convex or Scandi convex, proving that, of course, proper heat treat, the finish work, and the edge geometry will majorly impact this any composition's ability to cut or perform, right? So this makes pretty much everything in the market just look stupid. A Rockstead knife will cut and cut and cut and cut, right? Now, your standard geometry, non-Scandi convex, non-mirror polished, right? The stuff like that Spyderco uses, I think it's somewhere around the general vicinity of M390. The problem is I have no real experience sharpening it. So I don't really know. This stuff never had a problem with corrosion. I've been able to strop this back to life. It has just cut and cut and cut. And I say back to life. I've not really used it much where I need, but if I feel a little bit of a roll or something in the edge, just, I don't know, 50 per side on a leather strop, and it's this particular knife, incredible. Back to life, no problem. I'd put the Rockstead ZDP would go in S class. Regular ZDP, I don't really know. I feel like it's just more of a safety thing that I'm going to put it with these other B grade steels because it's just hard. That's kind of a, I don't really have a definitive answer there, so I'm going to make a safe choice, right? How about 14C28, and this is just a stupid, excellent steel. Laren Thomas of Knife Steel Nerds did an excellent, like the best budget. He did this massive, and remember guys, he's a metallurgist, so he's gonna know. Massive breakdown of different steels, right? I can't comprehend the level he's coming at that with. You know, like I don't have the capacity to do that type of testing. Even if I could, again, I would just be like hieroglyphics. Like I can't really comprehend the data. I can't do that, right? I'm just go out like a knife, I'm gonna cut stuff with it. That's pretty good. I'm gonna sharpen it back and it seems like it's sharp again. That's good. Like that's as scientific as I can be with it, right? So in my caveman experience, Laren Thomas seems to be correct. Confirmed. 2021 confirmed by Metal Complex, right? Laren Thomas seems to be right. Yeah, that's stupid. Obviously he's gonna, but yeah, 14T28N does truthfully. This is the Cuvist Bladeworks variant. An excellent knife for the money and just great cutting geometry. 14C28N, stainless, decent edge retention, very easy to sharpen, and it's very, very tough, shrugging off many levels of abuse, right? So that is absolutely an S-class steel for just day-to-day use and just well-roundedness, I guess, is kind of how I'm judging this. I know so many people's minds blown. Oh, dude, M390 is only a B, and 14C28N is an S class. That's a $1,000 knife, and that's a $70 knife. Nobody's holding you hostage here. You don't have to watch. Here's one that I can't really judge, but I'm gonna try anyway. So this is far and away the most exotic steel that I have on the table. No, this is not Damascus, and no, it's not Damasteel, it's Damacor, which is also a proprietary blend created by the Damasteel company. It is 3 compositions, and this is a Herman Dragon. This is a full custom knife. You're not going to see Damacor on anything. I've never seen Damacor on anything that was less than $1,000. Knives get up to $1,000. Yeah, they do. That's a totally separate video. I've done a video on that. When we're talking about steel here, the core itself, you can see that strip there. That's actually their own proprietary, I forget what they call it. It's basically Vanax. That's basically what it is. Vanax is like LC200N, but it's got, like in terms of corrosion resistance, it basically cannot corrode, but it's got way better edge retention. It's going to be harder to sharpen. It's not quite as tough, but it's got better edge retention. Potentially M390 level edge retention or even higher. Depends. I can't remember. Pete, I think Cedric Nada did Vanax test. You'll have to watch that if you want to. Then these outer layers, right, the jacket, so to speak, is actually Damasteel. increasing toughness and adding some not adding corrosion resistance, but adding some toughness and maybe, I don't know, some impact stability. It also just looks really effing cool. But yeah, so there's actually 3 different compositions here. Whatever Damasteel's, whatever they call their proprietary, basically Van X core, RWL 34 and PMC 27 making up the jacket. I have no idea. Van X sounds like a steel that I would very much enjoy in terms of cutting and the fact that it can't corrode, but it also sounds like it probably would chip as readily as M390, so I don't really know. I'm gonna set Damacor up just because it has those interesting additional elements that kind of balance it out and give it an impossible composition, because it's not one steel, it's actually 3 compositions, right? So there's some balancing going on there. I'm going to say I probably would enjoy it as an A-class material, but I don't really know. I want to make that very, very clear. So now what I'm going to do, because all I have left, these are all like the varying different steels that I own, and then I own some other knives that are in the same steels as some of these knives. I'm actually going to move these off of, isn't that weird? I don't own personally any steels that I would put in DNF. Believe me, we're going to talk about some steels that go in there. I'm going to move these off the table. We're going to cut the video, move them off the table, and the rest of these are going to be in card form. All right, we're going to start out here with Crewware. Now, I don't own any knives in all of these steels, and I'm going to use in card form. And it's mainly because I'm just waiting for the right knife to come out in these steels, right? If I place them really high on the ranking system, I'm just waiting for the right knife. But, you know, knives are expensive, not made of money, so I got to kind of wait till the right thing comes along and I've got the right opportunity. Crewware, not a stainless steel, but it's up there. I don't have a problem with it. I love how tough it is, and I love how easy it is to sharpen, and I love the level of edge retention that I get out of it. It truthfully does perform in a, you know, for me, in a way that rivals some of my favorite steels. So, I mean, I guess I've never really thought about it, but Crewware is absolutely one of my favorite steels that exists. I'm going to put it in S class. How about we talk about S110V? Wow, I really don't like this steel. It's really, really chippy, right? And a lot of, you know, it's like a lot of times when you're looking at a knife that costs a lot of money and you're like, gosh, I don't know. I like how that looks, but gosh, the price, what's the steel? And then you see S110V and you go, oh, thank God, I can justify it now because it's in an ultra premium steel like S110V. If you're not going to use the thing and you just have this like valuation system, and listen, coming from somebody who does have some safe queens, so I understand that mentality, you're not going to use it and it just makes you feel good, because S110V is definitely, as far as like expensive steels go, like when somebody's going to, a company that's going to make a knife, they're going to buy S110V from Crucible, that's an expensive steel to buy. This is, I think, in the original application of S110V was industrial food prep, right? Needs to be stainless, needs to be able to hold an edge for a long time, right? So if you're going to chop carrots all day, every day, maybe, I don't know, maybe there's better steels for that, right? That probably comes down to geometry. S110V, I do not like it in like folding knives. It might have specific application. I know people, Dean, no, all of my favorite S110V knives. If you like it, keep liking it. I hate it for EDC. It sucks to sharpen. It's like M390, except even crappier when it comes to the chip. It is so chippy. I hate, and it takes forever to, I hate it. No. Let's see. Let's do one that no one should ever use. Surgical stainless. Yeah. I got a great deal on a pocket knife on eBay. It was $7.95. What's the steal? Surgical stainless. Probably some high quality stuff, right? This is poo-poo town. In the full sense of that description. This is poo-poo town. F. Stupid. Don't buy stuff with that steel. Let's see. Speaking of nearly F, let's talk about AUS 8. This used to be a much bigger deal. So AUS 8 is a stainless steel, but literally like every knife that I've seen aged in AUS 8 seems to have corrosion. It also doesn't hold an edge for like any time at all. Like, I mean, I understand. It's like, well, it's really easy to sharpen and it's tough. Okay, great. But I still need some edge retention, right? you know, this is I hate this for opposite reasons. You know, it's not that I hate it. Like if I had to use it, okay, you know, but it's a different reason than S110V because people are you guys are gonna be so confused. Like S110V and Ausstate are both D. This is in terms of my experience with use, right? It's not valuation of the steel. I know, like people are gonna aggressively miss the point and type me up a book. You don't understand what you're talking about, grr! Like, okay, just bear with me here. I don't like using either of these steels. This one holds an edge forever, but it chips like crazy and it sucks to sharpen. This thing doesn't hold an edge at all. It's super easy to sharpen, but it holds a frustratingly weak edge. It's just so, and it also like, it seems to corrode so easily. I don't like it. Let's see here. Ooh, let's talk about K390. Wow, my keychain knife, which actually is right here. I'll show it to you. The reason I'm not going to lay it down is because I have stuff all over my keys. This is my K390 blade. Now, some of this is corrosion because I do not clean this at all. But a lot of it that looks like corrosion, a lot of it is just like crap and gunk from the last thing that I cut. I use this knife for literally everything. This is a, is it the ladybug? Is it the man bug? I can't remember what the heck it is. This is one of the tiny Japanese Spydercos. This thing gets used so much. This thing has never been sharpened. Now, it definitely needs a touch-up, but my experience with this is very similar to Maximum. Had I cleaned this off, it probably wouldn't be so nasty, but this knife gets used for digging, or sometimes it gets used for getting rid of a gigantic spider that gets into. We have the big wolf spiders here in Kansas, right? So I know people are gonna get mad at me for that. I try to catch them and let them go, but sometimes they just, you know, those things are crazy. They sprint. Anyways, this gets used for pretty much everything, and it has been wonderful. I am sure that I could clean this off and, you know, get it back to looking a lot better. K390 is serious stuff, but it's one weak point. It's definitely going to be tougher than M390. It's definitely going to hold an edge longer than M390. Not quite to the same level as Maximum, but it's a little bit tougher than Maximum, right? This is really good stuff. If you don't need corrosion resistance like me, if you live in a state that's similar to Kansas, K390 is going to treat you similar to me. It's a great steel. Now, it touches up, as far as I've seen, it strops up similarly to Maximum. Probably not going to be the most fun thing in the world to sharpen, but because it doesn't chip, I kid you not, this thing does not have any major chips. It's all rolls, right? Time-wise, it's going to take a bit, but you're not going to have to work through those chips, which really sucks. That adds a lot of time, right? So K390, I'm going to put an A. How about Vg10? Vg10 is just kind of a... I know people say it's so similar to 154. I don't have that experience with Vg10. The Vg10 that I have used, and maybe I haven't used good Vg10, right? It doesn't hold an edge as long. And it feels very buttery, kind of. It doesn't feel like it gets as fine, like the edge. And again, this is based on like not a lot of sharp. It's not like I sharpen knives every day. But Vg10, the edge doesn't feel as fine. It doesn't, and it depends on the geometry, right? I mostly have dealt with Spyderco's Vg10, which you think I'd have a better experience because the geometry of their, you know, the Indela, the Endura, right? You'd think that the edge geometry would play a big role in the performance there, and it does, but I just don't really, it's just not all that great. It's not terrible. It's just not great. I'd rather use Vg10 than S110V. Definitely. Let's see here. N690, I kind of feel the same way as Vg10. N690 it just feels a lot like Vg10, right? It's pretty straightforward there. I don't like it as much as some of the other steels. I'll use it if I have to, right? Let's do another... Oh, let's do Nitro V. Yeah. Nitro V. Not a lot of experience sharpening, but I think I've sharpened it once. Pretty good experience. It was on a one of the less expensive Civivi knives. Was it the little Ferrum Forge one, I think? Yeah. Pretty easy to sharpen. This stuff is really tough. And it's okay. I mean, I think the edge retention is somewhere similar in here, right? But yeah, it's definitely tough. decent edge retention. A lot of people are going to say, this is stupid. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It's going to perform exactly the same. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to say, my experience doesn't make any sense because this steel performs like this and this performs like this. Just remember, geometry, heat treat, the environment, how hard you're using it, what you're doing, like lack of sharpening experience or lack of an ability to pick up on exactly what the differences are during use, right? Just a human being. So my experience with Nitro V is slightly better than Vg10. I like it. You'll see Nitro V on inexpensive knives and very expensive knives. H1 garbage. I hate it. Oh my God, terrible. Wow, you can use it in the ocean. The only thing H1 is capable of cutting without dulling is ocean water. If that blade interacts with anything else, it's dull. H1 sucks. I hate it. Terrible. Let's talk about a steel that makes way more sense. LC200N. Oh my goodness, this is awesome stuff. Now, I don't need mega super ultra corrosion resistance, right? So I can't put it in S because I get stuff out of some of these other steels that I've put up there, right? Some extra elements that that LC200N can't provide because it's emphasizing corrosion resistance. But it is incredible, and it does make me feel good about using it in a wet environment or cutting fruits and vegetables, right? So I still love LC200N, and I think it's wonderful. I don't have that much experience with it, though. S45 Vn. Oh my goodness. I have a little bit of experience with this stuff from Hinderers and a couple of Spydercos. I know that the more that I use this, the more I'm going to like it. It really does feel indistinguishable from S35 Vn, but there's a bonus to corrosion resistance. So this is based on super limited experience, but that's the experience I'm getting with it is that it performs like S35. So yeah, S45 Vn, that is absolutely S-class. How about 8CR13MOV? Well, that's basically AUS 8. That's Chinese AUS 8. So yeah, I don't really like it. You know, it's like the Spyderco Tenacious is a good example. That's a knife that is really good, and the geometry is really good. And I'm going to guess they did their best with the heat treat on the 8CR, right? Everything is so good. Like that knife makes 8CR look almost good, but the steel by itself is bleh. It takes the Spyderco Tenacious to even make that steel viable, right? I'm just, nah, I don't like it. And people are going to, I know people are going to tell me like, you don't know. Like, you need to get out in the bush, man, because AUS 8 can, okay, yeah, whatever. It's fine. Everybody's different. I'm sure there are people who know more than me, and I'm not going to claim to know more than them. It's just an opinion thing. 1095. Oh, my God, I love this. It's just, like, unbelievable, just powerhouse impact steel. And, I mean, on a fixed blade, right? Not on a folder. On a fixed blade, a big, nasty, thick fixed blade that you're just going to chop and beat the absolute crap out of, it's going to corrode eventually. It's going to. Like, you're going to want to have it coated. But some of the meanest, like, nastiest beater knives, beater fixed blades, like, if you're going to have an all-purpose bushcraft knife, I'd almost, like, say it like, for me, it would almost have to be made out of 1095. You know, what about 3V? I think I'd rather have 10. I know it's not going to hold an edge as long, but oh my God, you can sharpen this stuff on a brick or kind of a rock that's kind of flat, right? Like a river stone. 1095 is just amazing. Outside of, you know, you're going to have to baby it a little bit for corrosion resistance, but I just love 1095. Some of this, I'm judging it on specific use scenario, right? And some, like, a lot of you are going, well, that's why you said that this was going to be for all-around EDC or your own experience with all-around EDC, but you just said you love 1095, but that sounds like a very specific use. Yeah, kind of, but that's the nice thing about doing a video like this is I can just do whatever I want. So 1095, I think it's definitely more well-rounded than this stuff. For general EDC, but I love that it's mega useful for just like a mega pounder knife that you can take out and be like, if I want to use it for day-to-day EDC, I can do that, right? 1095 will work, but it's excellent if I'm like, oh, I suddenly need to chop down a tree with my fixed blade. Well, it's going to be a rough time, but you can do it with 1095, right? 420J, terrible. Oh my gosh, we should put all the 420J blades, not liner material, all the 420J blades on an island, and we should nuke that island. That's terrible. I'm sorry if you have a pocket knife in 420J. You should throw it away. I know that sounds mean, right? Well, don't throw it away if like it was given to you by somebody you care about, right? But if you bought it at a gas station or something and it looked cool because it's got like spider webs on it and blue metallic material, and I don't know, maybe there's like a Joker's face and it's on fire I don't really understand that stuff. That's trash. Throw it away. It's awful. Here we go. We didn't actually talk about D2. D2, this is ingot formed steel, the Ontario Rat 1, the only knife left I have to show today. That's not a card. So D2 steel is one of my most preferable budget knife steels, and this Rat, which has absolutely been through it. This thing definitely needs, I know this is going to make you guys cringe, but this needs to be sharpened. D2 is great. I like ingot formed D2. It's not stainless, but this guy has never, and this is not a babied knife. This is not a knife that I have ever babied, and it just doesn't care. It's not getting the surface corrosion or anything like that. Now, depending on where you live, what you're using it for, you might have a different experience. But this knife has really been beaten into the ground, and it's still locking up solid. It's just excellent. But the blade steel has been really good. I honestly like D2 about a B level, right? I would rather EDC. I know this sounds crazy. I would rather EDC D2 than M390. But that's just my experience with it. It's not the funnest thing in the world to sharpen, but it's easier to sharpen than M390. And I feel like I can beat on it because it doesn't chip as readily, right? Now, let's talk about CPM D2. This is perhaps the most underrated steel of all time. And part of the reason there is it is almost never printed as CPM D2. It's just listed as D2. So when you see a Benchmade in D2, people are like, D2? Oh, it's so expensive for D. It's CPM D2. This is American Crucible Powder Metallurgy D2, right? Very different from your ingot form stuff. This stuff has superior edge retention, superior carbide formation and distribution in the edge, right? The CPM process also increases its toughness, which is great. It is harder to sharpen. The CPM stuff is harder to sharpen than D2, which is what's keeping it out of our S-rank steels. But this stuff is very good. It's about in line with CTS XHP. I probably would still prefer CTS XHP because it's stainless. Makes me feel a little bit, even though I don't really need that extra, right? It just makes me feel a little bit better. It depends on the scenario, right? And I know I'm kind of bouncing back and forth with my logic here, but welcome to the channel. Cheap Damascus, right? I thought all Damascus was the same stuff. I have a video on Damascus if you want to find out the difference between cheap Damascus, expensive Damascus, Damasteel, and Damacor. It is not all made the same. That $14.95 fixed blade you bought off Amazon is made out of cheap Damascus. Damascus can literally be any two compositions. So if you're paying between, I would say anywhere from $10 to $50, it's probably absolute trash. Yeah, it looks cool. And it might seem like it works, like, oh, I can cut with it. Well, yeah, I mean, but cut with something that's actually, meant to hold an edge longer or meant to, you're going to notice a difference, right? Cheap Damascus is F garbage. It is absolute, just a hot circle of dolphin crap. It sucks. There is no reason to put those cheap Damascus knives up on a pedestal. AUS-10, and yeah, we'll go ahead and put AUS-10A in here, right? The stuff that is used on the Demco 8015. I'm sorry, the 8020.5. I always thought that this seemed like it performed a lot closer to 154 cm, but that just proves that I don't really always know what I'm experiencing. Like there's probably some other subconscious factors, like maybe the fact that I just really like the shark lock, so I just really wanted to enjoy the steel that I have to deal with on that knife. So subconsciously, in my head, I was like, it probably performs like 154. Apparently it performs similarly to 440C, which is an okay steel. I don't know that it makes the best sense in the world on a $150 8020.5. I'll take it there. Would absolutely prefer a better steel, but it's okay. I've got one that I beat on. In fact, I'll show it to you guys. I should have just gotten this knife out. But this is also, the AD 20.5 is also one of my most heavily used knives. And it's doing all right. It's still plenty. In fact, I'll demonstrate for you guys. This knife, despite being used very often, is still plenty. A lot of people are saying, my AD 20.5 won't cut. Are you doing this? Are you one of those people? Yeah, that's why it's not cutting. You have to slice with it. This is a well-loved edge, right? And it's still slicing okay. Not perfect, but it's still doing okay. AUS 10A is all right. That paper cut test doesn't prove anything. All I'm proving is that the edge is still capable of sharp slicing paper. That's the only thing I'm saying there. So I don't know if we have, I'm gonna put that in C right there. I guess I had two. Oof, tungsten carbide. That's not steel. I have a Sandrine. Oh, it's right over there. I'll just get it. I guess I have more of these knives. Guys, I'm sorry. So this is a knife that's not worth the $300 they are asking for it. But I spent a good amount of time. Now, I've cleaned this off since I used it, but there's some past videos. Actually, there's a review that I've recorded in the past, but you haven't seen it yet. You'll see it in the future with debris all over it. I spent a good hour and a half out in my garage breaking down boxes with this stuff. This is not steel. It's tungsten carbide. This will hold an edge longer than anything. But what about Rex 121 and S125V? Yes, it has better potential edge retention than those, right? I have never used those, right? As far as on paper goes, that's what I'm seeing. This I have extremely limited experience with, but what I was so impressed with is that the edge is still miraculously laser beam sharp after an hour and a half of thick clay-filled cardboard. That will screw up almost any other blade out there. This is really cool. Now, I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea what this stuff is like to sharpen. I'm hesitant to put, I don't want to put it in A. If it ended up being that this was like super duper easy to sharpen, it'd obviously be an S class. I have no idea how tough it is. I have no idea how easy it is to sharpen, but I imagine it's going to be at least a B grade. I mean, it can't corrode and it has excellent edge retention. Those two right there, right, with any decent amount of toughness and any hint of relative, like, it's okay to sharpen, yeah, it would easily make B tier. So I think I'm going to safely put tungsten carbide there. 440C, pretty much the exact, I mean, this used to be top dog, right? This was yesteryear's M390. That's all right. Definitely like super well-rounded. A lot of people say that they have the exact same experience with 440C as they do 154CM or CPM 154. In my experience, 154 will hold an edge longer, right? But it probably depends on geometry and heat treat and what you're using it for, right? And like if you're like me, just the individual's ability to pick up on what they're actually experiencing. I don't know. I'm going to put it in C. It's okay. It doesn't seem to do anything exceptional, right? It doesn't it doesn't seem to take like the most ridiculously fine edge, but I also don't have enough experience with it to be able to definitively say it. I'm going to put it in C. It's kind of my, you know, when you don't know the answer on a test, so you just put C, right? That's what I'm doing there. Rex 45, here's another steel that I have a lot of experience with. And this steel, there's a picture on Instagram of me having finished my longest cardboard breakdowning ever. It was almost 2.5 hours in the garage. I had let so many subscription boxes pile up. And there came a day where I was like, I got to break this stuff down so it fits in the back of the truck. It actually took 2 loads. And I got to get it to the recycling center. Rex 45, it was a Shaman. Somebody sent me a Sprint Run Spyderco Shaman and Rex 45 was brand new. And they said, use it. It's going to be a user. Just use it. So I had a fresh edge, took it out. This stuff ate through the boxes. I don't know that I can really tell the difference between Rex 45, K390, and Maximate. They are all very simple. They're almost like, it's almost like they're a family, which they're just like, they're all cousins with like slightly, one of them's a little taller, one of them's a little shorter, but he's a little buffer, right? That's kind of what it makes me think of. I really enjoy Rex 45, and I do not care that it's not a corrosion-resistant steel. There was not a single chip. I don't even know if there was a roll in the edge after all of those boxes. But my one major experience with it was right about there. Now, I have no experience sharpening it, but from what I understand, it's very similar to K390 and M4. K390 is like, a lot of people say, it's like M4 on steroids. M4 I could also throw in that family, my experience, and just on paper, right? K390, M4, Rex 45, and Maximum are all kind of, the whole toughness and edge retention, and then corrosion resistance I think is a little bit varying, but they're all kind of, they seem like a family to me. Teravantium, that's not steel either. That's Dendritic Cobalt. Teravantium would be like on the, I forget what the heck it's. If you Google Teravantium, you're only going to see it on a few knives, and it's all from the same company. But it is Dendritic Cobalt, whoops-a-daisy, and Dendritic Cobalt has absolutely been used by other companies for other knives. This stuff doesn't feel, at least the knife that I experienced, this, Nick Shabazz talked about this too. The edge didn't feel sharp, but then you go to, draw it through material, and all of a sudden it's like super capable of cutting. It's weird. I have no experience sharpening it. It can't corrode, so that's kind of cool. It cut well. I don't have enough experience with it. I probably if I used it, the only reason this one's here is because I have some experience with it, like even if it's minimal, and because I know people are going to want to know, right? I'm going to say I probably would have a B grade experience with it. Oh, did I not put Tungsten Carbide anywhere? What did did I put it in B? Tungsten Carbide? Yeah, that's probably where that one needs to go. Okay, now I have two steels that I have zero experience with, but I know that I will have knives in these steels. In fact, one of them is on its way to me right now, and it's going to be a user, right? Let's talk about the mysterious and legendary M398. Yes, that is meant as an upgrade to M390. From what I understand, M398 will absolutely hold an edge longer. This is also Bowler. It will hold an edge longer than M390, but it doesn't have nearly as much corrosion resistance, and it will absolutely be harder to sharpen. Will probably be more chippy. My guess is I will probably feel about the same as M390 as I do, M398 as I do M390, right? I'm going to test it and see what I think, right? I'm going to have a knife. There's a knife being made for me in M390 right now. So M398 right now. So I'm going to test it, but I have no idea. I'm going to put it and see because I'm going to guess that's my experience, what it's going to be. And finally, for those of you who stuck around until the end, MagnaCut. I don't know. Oh boy, this is an interesting steel, right? We have some incredible, then this is the steel that Laren Thomas, or the composition that Laren Thomas created with CPM or Crucible, right? So his tests had some really awesome results. And a lot of people who have actually gotten their hands on some knives that are made out of this stuff, remember, there's going to be individual heat treat, there's going to be geometry for the blade, right? And then it depends on what that person is using it for and their ability to perceive what's actually happening, right? Some of these test results have been the same or better, like shockingly better in some situations than Laren Thomas's own test results. And sometimes a couple of tests I've heard have been lacking in some areas. Corrosion resistance is a very, I have no idea, right? I've heard some people say, oh my God, it's like LC200N, and other people are like, nah, it's not anywhere near that. Edge retention, the reports of it seem to be like amazing. And most people have said it's really not that bad to sharpen, and it's pretty darn tough. I'm going to guess it's probably going to end up in A or S for me, right? It depends on, I'm not a professional sharpener. I don't really like to sharpen, right? So it's probably somewhere around here. Maybe it'll be off the charts. Maybe it'll be like in some magical, like I should make a celestial tier of, knife rank and put MagnaCut up there. I have no idea. This is supposed to be, this is the crown is meant to be passed to MagnaCut. As far as the knife world is concerned, we are ready to shove M390 off the throne and aggressively give it to MagnaCut. And it might be the first steel in history that's actually deserving of the blind crown that is king of the knife steels, right? It might actually be that. This is a steel that was actually made, well, I believe, was M390 made for pocket knives? I can't remember. This is a steel that was actually designed for pocket knives, and it has, you know, like science, like universe bending attributes, right? It doesn't really make sense to me, but then again, I'm not a metallurgist and I'm not really all that smart. So it will probably be an S tier steel. I just don't know. I hope you guys, those of you who are familiar with my channel, I hope you guys were mildly entertained. If you're new to my channel, I hope you're entertained. I fully expect there to be a lot of angry people. People have decided that they hate me after this video. That's fine. This is the type of content I make, right? I hope the vast majority of you were at least mildly entertained. I love doing stuff like this. This was really fun for me. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.